You arrive at the gate with a confirmed reservation, a seat assignment, and every reason to expect that the trip will continue as planned. Then, the message changes. The flight is full. Volunteers are requested. Your reservation was real, yet the seat may no longer be available. The no-show overbooking buffer explains the contradiction. Expected absences can push accepted reservations above physical capacity, leaving the final outcome dependent on how many passengers actually appear. To understand how both things can be true, the sequence has to be traced backward from the gate. Start with the visible outcome. More passengers are ready to travel than the aircraft can accommodate. The aircraft has a fixed number of usable seats. That physical limit cannot expand simply because more people arrive. At that point, the carrier has to resolve an immediate capacity problem. But the capacity problem did not begin when boarding started. It began earlier, when the reservation limit was set. Picture a simple line representing the number of seats on the aircraft. One confirmed reservation sits below that line, then another, then another. If the carrier stopped accepting reservations when the count reached the number of seats, the model would be simple. One reservation for every available seat. Real attendance is less predictable. Some passengers cancel, some change flights, some do not reach the gate in time. Others hold reservations but never appear. If the carrier accepted only as many reservations as there were worked seats, those missing passengers could leave empty capacity at departure. A seat on a departing flight cannot usually be stored and sold later. Once the aircraft leaves, that unused capacity is gone. The carrier therefore faces two competing forms of uncertainty. Accept too few reservations, and seats may depart empty. Accept too many, and more passengers may appear than the aircraft can carry. The no-show overbooking buffer sits between those risks. Return to the capacity line. Above it, add a second line representing the total number of accepted reservations. That reservation count may extend beyond the aircraft's nominal seat capacity. The extra reservations are not additional seats. They represent the carrier's expectation that some confirmed passengers will not appear. This is the first hidden rule behind the gate experience. Your confirmation exists at the passenger level. The booking limit is managed at the flight level. The carrier is not evaluating your reservation in isolation when it decides how many bookings the flight can accept. It is managing a portfolio of reservations against expected attendance. Historical patterns, timing, booking conditions, and other operational information can support an estimate of how many passengers are likely to show up. The customer usually sees none of that forecast. The visible information is personal. Reservation confirmed, flight selected, travel scheduled. The capacity calculation is aggregate. Total seats, total bookings, expected no-shows, and the risk that actual attendance will differ from the prediction. Now add another band to the diagram. It represents the expected no-shows. If the aircraft has fewer seats than confirmed reservations, this band is expected to bring the number of passengers who actually appear back within capacity. When attendance follows the forecast closely, the extra bookings may cause no visible problem. Some passengers do not appear. The remaining passengers fit within the available seats. The flight departs without most customers ever seeing the overbooking buffer. That quiet outcome is part of why overbooking can persist. The carrier can reduce empty seats and use fixed capacity more consistently, while the majority of flights may not produce a passenger-facing conflict. A documented example appears in the United States airline market. Delta's United States contract materials describe the possibility of selling more tickets than the number of seats available because some passengers with confirmed reservations do not show up. United States transportation guidance also describes oversales as a response to expected no-shows. The general mechanism is not unique to one airline, but Delta provides a bounded example with current public documentation. Imagine a Delta-operated domestic flight with a fixed seat count. Confirmed reservations extend above that count because the booking process anticipates some non-attendance. If the forecast is close to reality, enough passengers fail to appear that everyone who reaches the gate can be accommodated. The difficult case begins when the forecast is wrong. Return to the capacity model and add the final line, realized attendance. This line represents the passengers who actually appear ready to board. If realized attendance falls below the seat capacity line, there is no overflow. If it lands on the line, the aircraft is full, but the reservations can still be fulfilled. If it rises above the line, the hidden forecast becomes a visible operational problem. The risk becomes operational only when actual attendance exceeds both the available seats and the no-show allowance built into the booking decision. At that point, the system moves into another stage. Under the documented United States process, the carrier first seeks volunteers. A passenger may agree to take a different flight or accept another arrangement. That volunteer stage is not part of the original reservation experience, but it becomes part of the capacity resolution process once the number of ready passengers exceeds the number of seats. If enough passengers volunteer, the overflow can be resolved without involuntary, denied boarding. If too few volunteer, the carrier may apply boarding priority rules and deny boarding to one or more passengers under the applicable conditions. The confirmation did not disappear retroactively. It still represented a valid reservation state. What changed was the relationship between aggregate attendance and realized capacity. That difference explains why the experience can feel contradictory. A passenger interprets confirmation as a completed promise about one seat. The carrier manages confirmation as one state inside a larger capacity model that is not complete until attendance is realized. The word confirmed, therefore, carries less information than it appears to carry. It tells the passenger that a reservation exists. It does not show how many other reservations were accepted, how many no-shows were expected, how much forecast uncertainty remains, or how the carrier will allocate seats if attendance exceeds capacity. The buffer also shifts where uncertainty becomes visible. Without overbooking, forecast error may appear as empty seats and lost capacity for the carrier. With overbooking, some of that forecast error can move toward passengers when more people appear than expected. The same model that improves utilization in ordinary cases creates residual risk in the exceptional case. That trade-off is operational rather than purely personal. The carrier wants the aircraft to leave with its available seats used. The passenger wants the confirmed journey to remain predictable. Those interests often align when the forecast is accurate. They diverge when realized attendance is higher than expected. The diagram now has three distinct layers. The first layer is the passenger's confirmation. The second is the reservation total, which may extend above physical capacity because some non-attendance is expected. The third is realized attendance, which determines whether the flight remains within capacity or enters an overflow process. Each layer answers a different question. Is there a reservation? How many bookings has the flight accepted? How many passengers actually appeared? A problem occurs when those answers no longer fit together. The evidence here supports a narrow explanation. It shows that United States Airlines may use expected no-shows when managing reservations, that Delta documents selling more tickets than available seats in this context, and that oversold flights can move through volunteer and boarding priority procedures. It does not establish Delta's proprietary forecast method, the booking limit on a particular flight, or the cause of every seat change or denied boarding event. Aircraft substitutions, operational disruptions, late arrival, documentation issues, and other conditions can produce different outcomes. Practices, remedies, and legal rules also vary across carriers, industries, routes, and jurisdictions. But when the documented mechanism is no-show-based overselling, the logic is clear. Expected absences allow accepted reservations to rise above nominal capacity. Most of the time, realized attendance may still fit within the aircraft. When more passengers appear than the forecast allowed for, the difference becomes an overflow that must be resolved at departure. Return to the passenger at the gate. The confirmation was genuine. It recorded an individual reservation. What it could not reveal was the flight-level forecast surrounding it. A useful way to read the situation is to see confirmation as one state inside an unfinished capacity calculation. The reservation becomes fully compatible with the journey only when realized attendance fits within the seats available.